welcome to my channel again. Right, today's task is something that I've been putting off for quite a while, been busy with other projects, but it's gotten to a point where I need to do it, need to bite the bullet and do it, and that project is to replace the radiator. So this radiator's been leaking progressively worse over the last few months. I knew it was an issue, but as I said, I was trying to avoid doing it, but I need to do it now because effectively it's starting to leak even while the engine's not running. So I've already got a new radiator. It's a Burmark and apparently pretty good. So it's not a Chinese cheap one, but it's a reasonably priced and fairly well built radiator, so that's good. Hopefully there's not going to be any issues with fitting an aftermarket radiator, but we shall see. So what I'll do is I've already got the car on ramps, and I've already taken the splash shield on, and you can see here the remnants of the muck and so on. I know it looks like it's green, but I'm actually using blue BMW coolant, but I'll cover that later. So now the steps are to start removing the top. It is bloody cold today, so I'll remove this, remove that, and then I'll start actually going underneath and draining it. So what I'll do is I'll start with the top here just to get rid of this clutter out of the way. If you get out with the trim tools, so it's effectively just getting those out. We'll just undo these. Maybe the best thing to do is just to remove these ones here so we don't have to take the whole lot out. There we go. Alright, doing it with one hand again. Okay. And we'll just take the air filter out so that if there's any coolant that goes on there, we don't saturate it. Okay, so that exposes all this. With these little 318 engines or 1.9cc engines, you can see there's so much room here. I don't have a fan, it's an electric fan, so we can take this whole unit out in one hit. Now in the past I have already replaced the expansion tank, and I've already replaced the thermostat that goes underneath the expansion tank as well, so I don't need to do any of that. I'm only going to be replacing the radiator in this case. So we'll just continue dismantling. Actually, this unit just comes out in its entirety. It's a bit of a pain, but anyway, take that out. Either pop those out, or you can push them in, one of the two. Pushing them in means you just keep them there, so that's okay. I can't feel my fingers now. Anyway, made some progress here. Here we go. And I'll just put that out of the way. See how those clips work? Okay, so what we'll need to do is remove that one, and also this little one here. Probably should use a smaller screwdriver. There we go. Now this bit here belongs, obviously, as part of the expansion tank. So both of these, just to kind of, you know, make it a little bit more interesting, why not, have to be removed at the same time because they're all one unit. You can see how it's just one unit. So both of these have to be removed, one from this section here and one from that section there. Slowly coming out. Here we go. Just making sure that this side's coming out okay. Yep, that's fine. And here we go. Right, so you can see what I mean about both coming out at the same time, and that's that. And that's why I took the air filter out. Now we've got this, that's on its own, that can be removed shortly. Alright, I hope you guys can see this, given that it's a bit dark. So with that, this is just a matter of pulling this out. I just might use 2 hands for that. I have a funny feeling this is going to be messy. We'll try to pull these things out nice and slowly and as evenly as possible. And here comes the... Oh! As I said, messy. Okay, so you can see that there's 2 O-rings there and there. I've already replaced those in the past, so I'll just leave that as is. Okay, so next step is to remove the expansion tank. You can see that there's a heater exchange there, and to do the expansion tank again, you just pull that tab out here, and then it's basically yank it up. So hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult, because I did replace this one only about 6 months ago. Okay, so that's that, and just a little bit of coolant. Alright, so this is the bit that I want to remove from here, which has been a real bugger of a thing. So again, the electronic sensor has been disconnected. That's disconnected, that tab is pulled up, and that's got to go up now, the entire thing. So it's kind of getting stuck in this little mounting point there. Alright, finally I got this out of its home down the bottom there, you can see. Alright, so now it's just a matter of removing it. Right, and you can see down here how I said that's a fairly new thermostat, that one here. Okay, so everything's now disconnected pretty much from the radiator, and now it's just a matter of unbolting the radiator itself. First I've got to get rid of the fan, and by doing that I just got to get some, I think these are Torx 25s. There's one on each side, I think. Oh, actually this one looks like it just has a bung in it. But anyway, it's quite easy to do. You just undo. It's obviously sitting on these brackets there, so we'll go ahead and do that. Hold on, don't get too carried away. That whole radiator wants to come undone now on its own. So let me just remove that. Right there, in there. Okay, and we'll just try to get things out of the way. Right, so there she is there. Next thing to do is to remove this section here from the radiator, because we'll need to screw that back onto the new radiator. So generally I think there was 2, and you can see that one's already missing on that side. So I'll take this one off, and then we should be able to take the whole unit out. So we'll just gently pry this out. There we go. And then that just... Right, old and new. I'll keep this cardboard as a protection for it. Although, it looks like it's been scraped there anyway. Okay. That side looks alright. So here, that's obviously different to that. So what I'll do is I'll take that off and I'll put it onto the new one. Right, just to confirm something here, that's what I got, and you can see the part number there, 376716-271. That is specifically for automatics. Interestingly enough, they must have designed this differently for the burr. That's the original drain plug for the OEM radiator, and that's got the separate drain plug in there as well. But the new one is just kind of like this castellated nut looking almost setup, and all it is just, that's just the drain plug as it is, nothing else to it. They must have changed the internals so that the coolant still flows out of here so that it can feed into the transmission cooler unit. And I take it that the manuals are probably different there, I'm not sure, but anyway. So that got me worried for a while. I thought maybe they sent me the wrong one, but just did a bit of reading online and so on, and it seems to be a little bit of confusion, but basically I think it is as it is, and you just put it together. So the next thing is to put this back on. Again, I'll give it a bit of a clean before I do. And then once this is back on, then we're ready to put the radiator in. Okay, so I've mentioned previously that this thermostat is new. I replaced that a while ago when I replaced the expansion tank. Great, looks like it's starting to rain. Right, okay, I'll put this back on and screw that in. I'll need to find a screw for this side because that was missing, remember, on the top here. And then we should be right to put that in. Right, so we've got that unit back in there. 2 screws here. It's all sitting quite solidly in there. I gave it a bit of a clean as well. I had to put the gazebo up because it's damn raining, but anyway. Right, so now let's put the radiator back into position. Right, that unit's all in there. So we'll just see if we can slowly drop this into place. As I said, these 318s have got a lot of room in the engine bay, so, but even still, I'll stuff it up. Okay, let's have a look, see. Because the fan uses one of the mounting points on so if you look down here, I'm not sure if you can see that, the fan actually slides into that groove there, and then on the other side it has a tab where it sits on. So now the whole thing sits nicely like that. Okay, so there's a tab there. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that. And as I said, it slides into this position here quite nicely. That little strip goes under the radiator, and these tabs help support the fan. I forgot to put this in. So if you're doing this job, just put it in before you put the radiator in, if you want to. I mean, it's not an impossibility to put it in now. So you can see these tabs here. Okay, so that just brings that shroud and nips it up that way. Plastic support piece underneath the radiator, I've now put that in. I'm just going to put these things in here back in. So I'll start assembling pretty much the same process as disassembly. So you just start putting the things back together. And what I'll do is I'll do all that, and then once I've done it, then we'll go through the filling process. Alright, so all of that is now back in place. I've got the electrics back in place, the connectors, the air filter top, all the stuff down the bottom's already done, level sensor connected. That's all pretty straightforward. It is a bit difficult to get this back on seated right, so I used a smidgen of grease, stuff that's quite safe to use on plastics, and that made a huge difference in trying to get that in. I've got the bleed screw loosely put there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start actually filling the radiator. And because I've got it up on ramps, it's at least this is the highest spot, which is good. And also we didn't have to empty the entire coolant out of the system. So I'll do that now. Right, so I've got it to the point where it started flowing out from here, from the bleed screw. So now what we need to do is start the car up, put the temperature on max heat, and maybe the fan going just on the first setting, so that we can start circulating the coolant all around, including the for the heating. So I'll do that now. Just pouring that in, keeping an eye out on. See how there's still kind of air popping out? I don't know if you can see that, but there is air coming out of that. I've already got the coolant in there. You can see the stream coming out there on the bleeder. Right there. Seems to be consistent. There's a bit of air there still, so we just keep going. Once no more air comes out, what I do is I then nip up the bleed screw, not too tight because you can snap them. So you just nip it up, and then what you have to do is then remove excess coolant, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right, so I've closed the bleed screw and I'm just double checking now, making sure everything looks alright. Inside the car is quite hot. I've got it on 32 degrees Celsius, the max. So it's actually not too bad there. It's actually right on the maximum on there, so I might not have to worry about removing any coolant. So there might still be a little bit too much coolant in there, but I'll effectively what I do is I just suck a little bit out. So draw a little bit out with maybe a syringe or something like that, and make sure that it's actually quite nice and level, because you do need to have the air gap inside the expansion, the tank, because if you don't, it could, I mean, generally it should purge out of the cap, but if it doesn't, it could put undue pressure on the tank itself, and that's when you can lead to potential cracks. So pretty much that's it. So it's a pig of a job to do a radiator change. Honestly, it's messy, it's dirty, and then when you kind of got cold weather and raining and everything else like I've copped, it's actually just a pig of a job. But hopefully that'll see the end of that, and there shouldn't be any issues. I'm still a little bit concerned about the drain plug, how it hasn't got that the old style drain plug with the, you know, the lengthy shaft on it. But really all I'm concerned about is making sure that the coolant actually does make it to the transmission cooler lines, which it will. And I suppose that's just a design change. But if you know otherwise, by all means, I'm all ears, let me know. So effectively that's it. The only thing I can suggest, which I didn't do earlier on, was to make sure that you put this plastic underneath the radiator before you install it, because this does hold the back of the shroud for the fan. It clips into place and holds it nicely underneath here. So yep, put that one in before you put the radiator in, and aside from that it should be all good. Alright, so I'll leave the video at that. As I said, technically it's not too difficult. If in doubt, just follow the manual, but realistically it's no specialty tools required, maybe a Torx 25, but aside from that it's pretty much easy going. So if you have any questions, any comments, please let me know. I'm happy to answer what I know about these cars. But until next time, as always, thanks for watching.